Winter has always been a time for gathering in the longhouse and sharing information around the fire. This is our contribution to that tradition.
That snake is a very good eating critter. If you have occasion to eat one, the preparation method that I prefer, after you get them gutted, you peel the skin off, you cut the backbone into sections and pan fry. Start with the ribs facing down so that they flatten out as you fry them, and then when it comes time to eat, you grab the backbone and just pull the meat right off of those ribs. No, doesn't taste like chicken, very unique, good eating. But the purpose of this this little lesson is not about subsistence. Although when you're out on the trail, it can be a nice way to integrate with the environment, to do a little bit of subsistence gathering, but it's not a good plan A. I'm going to cover the things that I've learned and the things that I typically carry for a typical backpacking meal. Now I will say I'll talk about two ends of the spectrum first. On the one end, I have a friend who's a real accomplished backcountry traveler. He doesn't cook anything. He doesn't carry a stove at all. For him, it's all about good granola bars, meal bars, those sorts of things. And that certainly is a strategy that's going to save you a lot of hassle. On the other end, something that I don't really have much experience with, there's folks for whom part of the backcountry experience is cooking really nice meals out there. You know, if that's where you're coming from, drive on. I don't have a whole lot to add to that conversation because it's not the way that I eat in the backcountry. So I do like a heated meal, but I like a one-pot meal. For me, that's kind of the right place on the continuum between fuss and taste and rejuvenation. There's a couple different ways to do the one-pot meal. Something that a friend of mine, Sarah Svien, now I'm sorry, Kirkconnell's the new last name, new as of a decade ago, but at any rate, she was one of the early pioneers of the freezer bag cooking movement, and I suggest you go look up her stuff if you want some more recipes. But basically the idea there is you take 1 quart freezer bags, and there's a variety of recipes and meals that you put together yourself. You pour boiling water into the bag, you put it in an insulated cozy, and that allows you, and it basically simmers and reconstitutes and heats that way, and then you don't have a pot to clean afterwards. All you're doing is flattening and rolling up that Ziploc bag, and that goes into the garbage pile. Personally, I'm still at the place where I do exactly that same thing, but I do it in my GSI How You Like Minimalist, where the food is cooked in the pot, bring it to a boil, then put it into the insulated cozy that comes with that cook system, and let it simmer. And for me, that's a good way of doing it. I do end up with a pot I have to clean, but kind of that's where I am. So typically I will eat I'll eat 1 to 2 cooked meals a day on the trail. So I will plan for that, 1 or 2 like nice cooked meals a day, and then the rest of it is snacks. Now, one of the benefits of a cooked meal, particularly if it's colder, if you put heated food in your body, that raises your core temperature just by, you're getting not just the metabolic boost, but you're also getting a true temperature boost by putting warm food in your body, and sometimes of the year that can be pretty significant. So at any rate, I'll plan for 1 to 2 meals, 1 to 2 cooked meals a day, kind of depending upon time of year, and then the rest snacks. As far as snacks are concerned, basically the modern granola bars, nuts, those sorts of things, some fruit, but for me the best burn on the trail that I get just has to do with granola bars. We got a great recipe on our website that I'd recommend that as far as nutrients and protein fat mixture and all of that stacks up very nicely to the stuff you can buy over the counter, and it has the benefit of being something you cook. You can tweak the recipe, personalize it yourself. Aside from that, a couple of other sorts of meals or snacks that I like are the Bare Naked peanut butter bars. That's a good brand. I also like the Nature Valley nut bars. That's another good brand. And then I use just the old school Nature Valley crunchy granola bars that I will often supplement with almond butter or peanut butter, just squeeze right on top. This is a Coughlin's squeeze tube. You can get them at a lot of camping stores, and basically you get to refill it with stuff, and the peanut butter squeezes out the top. That works out really nicely. So let's talk about the contents of that one meal per day. So back when I was fighting fire, I learned that if you are doing a whole lot of high energy output, it becomes very difficult to digest meat. It takes time, it takes energy to digest meat. So depending upon how significant the energy output on the trip is going to be, I definitely bias towards grains, carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates, with some protein mixed in, and preferably chicken, because I personally find it easier to process. That being said, you're going to want to bias towards better quality food sources if you can. There's a whole lot of stuff now that's natural, stuff that's well, not just natural, but doesn't have a lot of extra ingredients, and perhaps is a better source of complex carbohydrates. For example, this is Lotus Foods rice ramen, and once I found that, I ended up using it as the basis for a lot of the meals that I prepare on the trail. It's a combination of millet and brown rice. It's a real high quality complex carbohydrate option. So the other thing I want to talk about is food freshness. Okay, if you carry dehydrated everything, that's going to save you water weight, particularly if you're traveling in an environment where you can you frequently run across water. So don't carry your water weight in your food, add water to your food. The flip side of that is I have found personally that sometimes it's harder if I'm doing a lot of high output energy. It's kind of harder to process the stuff that you have to constitute on the trail. One of the rules of thumb if you're putting together your own meals is the finer the ingredient level, the better off you're going to do as far as reconstituting it in such a way that you can digest it. So dehydrated ground beef is good. Actually, I'm going to go off on a little tangent here right quick. The country I travel, I don't have trouble with bears. I see they're not trash bears. They're black bears. They don't want to have anything to do with me. So typically my food bag, I'm not going to go hang. I'll just have it, at the foot of my sleeping bag or something. Or if I'm worried about mice or that kind of critter, maybe I'll just hang it really low. But there was one trip where I was carrying some sausage, some pork sausage, ground pork sausage that I had dehydrated to put into a meal, and boy, that was a fantastic meal. But because I dehydrated it like the day before I was leaving, I didn't dehydrate it all the way. I left it somewhat constituted, and when I pulled that out the first night, I could smell it myself through the bag, and I was like, man, I saw 7 black bears today, and I've got this pork sausage that I can smell myself. I better hang a bear bag. So anyway, little tangent, but any kind of ground meat like that ends up reconstituting really nicely. But like I said, I found trouble with processing food that I've reconstituted. So particularly when it's warmer, I tend to carry some foods that are fully constituted. It costs me in terms of water weight, but in terms of energy that I can get in, it works out really well. So one thing that frequently I will carry is the chicken in a bag, and I will add that to whatever meal it is that I'm eating. That'll be the protein content. This is not light. This is 7 ounces right here. For me, that's 2 meals. I can mix it with 2 different meals, but the value of having fully constituted food that I can add to my meal really helps out. And something else that I'll carry constituted nowadays, and this is a really nice thing, you can go get a lot of foods that are meant for kids in school. So you can get little foil squeeze bags of things like yogurt, applesauce, various applesauce mixes, and if you're willing to carry the weight, day 2 or day 3 on the trail, something like fully constituted applesauce can be a heck of a nice pick-me-up. Yeah, you've carried water weight, but man, that can be worthwhile. So I end up doing a mixture of foods that are fully dehydrated, including the protein, and foods that I carry constituted, and for me that just makes the difference. What you're looking for weight-wise is about 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds per day of food. And again, there's a water weight trade-off there, but that's kind of the goal. And then for a typical trip, my rule of thumb is I will carry, in addition to the number of meals I think I'll eat, I'll carry 1 to even 3 extra full meals in the event that my energy intake, or the amount of energy I need, ends up being greater, or I end up getting stuck out there. I have an emergency. I've got some extra food. In addition to that, I've got oatmeal packets, which I rarely end up eating as a breakfast meal, but as far as weight to the amount of complex carb that I'm going to get, that's a good option. I've got, I think, 4 or 5 packets here, and that's a good emergency food that I can use to supplement my diet, not too much weight. And I'll go through the rest of what I got sitting here. So I've got my bag of granola bars that I'll those are my snacks throughout the day. That's usually breakfast snacks throughout the day. I already showed you the peanut butter. I've got a drink bag that I carry chamomile tea. Sometimes warming up before bed is nice, and that'll calm you down. I carry Starbucks Via, which for me is the answer for coffee in the backcountry. I carry some hot chocolate so I can do the welfare mocha thing with the Starbucks Vias. And one thing I'm going to go into right now is neutropenia. Neutropenia is the condition where your body is too awash in water and not enough electrolytes, not enough nutrients. I've had it twice in my life, once when I was fighting fire and once when I was mountain biking the whole enchilada over in Moab. And it is a bad condition. It's a horrible feeling. And basically you're in this circumstance where, oh, it's real hot out, I need to keep drinking water, I feel too hot to eat, I need to be pissing clear, and you get to a very critical stage quickly. So you need to make sure that you're taking enough nutrients in to not get neutropenia. And the rule of thumb there, as far as watching your urine is concerned, is not clear. You want it slightly tinged with yellow. That tells you that your body still has the right balance of water versus electrolytes. And a supplement that I was turned on to by a friend is this Heed by Hammer Nutrition. It works really well if you add it to your water. Not all my water is this, but I can use this on the trail to keep my electrolytes balanced out and make sure I'm taking in more than just water. The other thing is having the discipline to eat your granola bars, have them accessible, snack as you go, and that'll give you a real good burn outside of those times when you're eating your dedicated meal. And then the other thing, as far as the one-pot meals I'll talk about, there are a whole lot of great pre-prepared dehydrated meal options. One thing I've found is this outfit is called Campfire Meals, and it's all natural, and I found it incredibly easy to process. It's got a great taste to it, and these things cost more than putting your own together, but what's your time worth? It may end up being that you decide that this is primarily what you want to roll with, and there's of course nothing wrong with that. So that kind of one other thing I'll talk about. I carry dark chocolate. This, I got a sweet tooth, but good real dark chocolate actually has a fair amount of nutritional value, particularly on the trail. The antioxidants are a good thing for you, and dark chocolate as opposed to milk chocolate doesn't tend to melt. I carry it in my pack, and it's usually not going to be a problem as far as melting is concerned. So that's that kind of covers the eating. In summary, you can go super simple and just have the stuff like the granola bars. You can go real complex, multi-pot meals if that's what you're into. I don't know a lot about that. I've kind of ended up in the middle with the one-pot meals. I have 1 to 2 a day. You can do that via freezer bag cooking, get recipes from there, put stuff together yourself. I like a mixture of food that has to be constituted in natural foods, and watch out for that neutropenia condition. That's a big thing.